Chapter 81, You step back, let me handle this. At the Jiejiao Pass, on the city wall, Jiang Ziya and the Taoist master Huanglong gazed at the camp of Shen Gongbao in the distance. Worry crept onto Jiang Ziya's face. When he had initially been ordered to wage war against the Shangdai dynasty, he had encountered many obstacles along the way, yet ultimately managed to overcome them. Even in the siege of Kyoto, he hadn't lost many key generals. But now, how had things come to this? Even when the Jie sect was at its peak, they couldn't defeat him. Now, with just Shen Gongbao and the two sisters, Jiang Ziya and Big Xiao, they had driven him from Jinjiling to Jiejiao. Two successive defeats, this was a tremendous blow to Jiang Ziya. What made it worse was that he had fled from both Jinjiling and the Sishui Pass in disarray. How could he maintain any semblance of dignity? Shen Gongbao, who had once been entirely beneath him, now had the upper hand. How could this have happened? Moreover, he still had no effective means to defend Jiejiao. As these thoughts weighed on him, Jiang Ziya glanced disdainfully at the Taoist master Huanglong, and beside him. Why did his master send such an utterly useless person to assist him? How could this man be of any help? Besides running faster than Jiang Ziya, he was good for nothing. Although before he left, his master had promised to send a strong helper, this time to ensure the disciples of the Jie sect would be added to the investiture of the gods. But hadn't his master said the same thing the previous 2 times? And what had happened then? Kong Shuang had been taken by Nuwa, and Zuandu was slain by Big Xiao. These people were simply unreliable. Who would the master send this time? Could they really be trusted? A huge question mark loomed in Jiang Ziya's mind. But at least there was one piece of good news. Shen Gongbao had arrived outside Jiejiao 3 hours ago but hadn't attacked yet. This indicated that Big Xiao's method of killing Zuandu couldn't be easily replicated. Otherwise, Shen Gongbao would have attacked already. Alas, Jiang Ziya really had no good ideas left. Just then, Huanglong spoke up. It seems Shen Gongbao has no additional help, it's still just Jiang Ziya and Big Xiao. Already displeased with Huanglong, Jiang Ziya shot him a cold glare after hearing this and retorted, stating the obvious. What difference does it make if they have no help? Can you defeat Jiang Ziya or Big Xiao? With that, Jiang Ziya turned and walked away. He couldn't stay near Huanglong any longer, otherwise, he might just die of anger. Seeing Jiang Ziya's attitude, Huanglong was infuriated and chased after him. Jiang Ziya, stop right there. I am your senior brother. What's with this attitude? When Jiang Ziya returned to the camp, he suddenly noticed someone new inside. This person stood with their back to Jiang Ziya, dressed in a Taoist robe. Jiang Ziya was startled at first, but then quickly realized that if this person were from the Jie sect, they would have attacked him by now. This must be the helper his master had mentioned. Moreover, this person's back seemed somewhat familiar. The next moment, the person turned around, and Jiang Ziya finally saw the face clearly, exclaiming in surprise, Lu Yao. Indeed, it was Lu Yao, who had been persuaded by Yuanxi. After arriving at Jiejiao, Lu Yao didn't immediately attack Shen Gongbao's forces. He was here to help, not to die. He needed to understand the situation with the Jie sect first. In the past, Lu Yao might not have cared about Shen Gongbao and his group. But now, with someone like Gu Changsheng in the Jie sect, Lu Yao had to be more cautious. The flame that Yuanxi had given him was powerful, but Lu Yao needed to survive long enough to comprehend its mysteries. In this battle at Jiejiao, he was determined to live without a scratch. When Jiang Ziya returned, Lu Yao seated himself at the main commander's position and coldly asked, "Tell me about Shen Gongbao's situation. Who from the Jie sect is here, and what are their cultivation levels and magical artifacts?" Seeing Lu Yao take the main seat, Jiang Ziya hesitated but said nothing. It wasn't the time to quibble over such details. But before Jiang Ziya could speak, Huang Long interrupted. The Jie sect has only sent Yang Xiao and Big Xiao this time. One is a quasi-sage, the other a Deluo golden immortal. However, Big Xiao wants. Huang Long, remember, I am the commander here, Jiang Ziya interrupted, visibly annoyed. Huang Long's bluntness was dangerous. If he revealed that Big Xiao had killed Zuandu, Lu Yao might refuse to fight. Huang Long frowned, but said nothing. Jiang Ziya then turned to Lu Yao and continued, with your cultivation, defeating Yang Xiao and Big Xiao should be effortless. But Lu Yao glanced at Huang Long and pressed on. What did Big Xiao do? He wasn't foolish. It was clear that Jiang Ziya didn't want Huang Long to reveal something. Realizing this, Huang Long immediately replied, Big Xiao's cultivation once neared the quasi-sage level, she might be close to breaking through. This at least concealed the fact that Big Xiao had slain Zuandu. Lu Yao sneered at this. Is that all? Even if Big Xiao had already broken through to the quasi-sage level, what difference would it make? With the immortal slaying flying knife and the nail had 7 arrows book, ordinary quasi-sages were no match for him. Moreover, Yang Xiao and Big Xiao were targets he had long wanted to eliminate. To cut the weeds, one must remove the roots. This was his chance to resolve the matter of Zhao Gangming once and for all. Without another word, Lu Yao moved swiftly out of the tent. Let me go and behead Yang Xiao and Big Xiao. See, in Lu Yao leave, Jiang Ziya was overjoyed. With Zuandu on the investiture of the gods list, there were now only 2 spots left. As long as Yang Xiao and Big Xiao were slain, the list would be complete again. Without Yang Xiao and Big Xiao, Shen Gonglo's rebellion would end as well. Jiang Ziya and Huang Long quickly followed after him. High above Jiejiao, Lu Yao took a step forward, his gaze fixed on Shen Gonglo's camp, as he coldly shouted, Yang Xiao, Big Xiao, come out and meet your death. Moments after his voice rang out, 2 figures rushed out from the camp. They were Yang Xiao and Big Xiao. The 2 women glared at Lu Yao, their eyes burning with anger. It was indeed a case of enemies meeting with fury. Lu Yao, how dare you show your face? Big Xiao's aura flared as she spoke. Yang Xiao, however, stepped in front of her younger sister, her voice icy. Lit, to sister, leave him to me. Big Xiao was no match for Lu Yao. But just as Yang Xiao was about to make a move, a thunderous voice echoed from afar. Yang Xiao, you 2 step back, let me handle him. Chapter 82, The Treasure, please turn around, the powerful voice echoed, brimming with an indescribable fury. Just by listening to it, one could sense the speaker's overwhelming desire to tear Lu Yao into pieces. Lu Yao, still puzzled, looked toward the distant figure, unsure of who it was. However, Yang Xiao and Big Xiao, after a brief moment of surprise, were overjoyed. How could they not recognize the voice of their elder brother, Zhao Gangming? In the blink of an eye, a robust figure appeared above Jiejiao. It was none other than Zhao Gangming. Brother, how did you get here? Big Xiao exclaimed in delight. Zhao Gangming, however, kept his eyes coldly fixed on Lu Yao, gritting his teeth as he spoke. Of course, I'm here for revenge. If it hadn't been for Lu Yao's nail had 7 arrows book, how could Zhao Gangming have met his demise? Seeing that the newcomer was Zhao Gangming, Lu Yao's expression faltered slightly. This Gu Changsheng truly had some methods, being able to revive someone whose soul was already on the investiture of the gods. But so what? As long as Gu Changsheng didn't intervene personally, what could these disciples of the Jie sect do to him? Lu Yao sneered. Revenge? Zhao Gangming, do you think just because you've been resurrected, you can defeat me? Or do you believe that without the nail had 7 arrows book, you stand a chance against me? Hearing Lu Yao's words, the initially startled Jiang Ziya below finally felt reassured. So what if Zhao Gongmi had returned? At worst, Lu Yao could just kill another one. But Taoist Master Huanglong, standing nearby, voiced his concern. Could it be that Zhao Gongmi has some means provided by Gu Changsheng? This single sentence made the heart Jiang Ziya had just calmed down jump to his throat again. Could it be does Gu Changsheng really have so many tricks up his sleeve? If things go awry, I need to be ready to flee immediately. At that moment, Jiang Ziya, her face solemn, spoke up. Brother, Lu Yao is not easy to deal with. We should join forces. If the mixed element Golden Dipper was here, it would be easier to deal with Lu Yao, but it was still with Kong Shuang. Zhao Gongmi, however, burst into laughter. No need. Let me show you the results of my cultivation over these past few days. With that, Zhao Gongmi no longer held back. His entire body surged with power, and a wave of violent energy swept across the sky above Jiejiao. The power was clearly at the level of a quasi-saint. Big Xiao exclaimed in joy, Brother, you've broken through to the quasi-saint level. This was excellent news for the Jie sect. Zhao Gongmi laughed and said, This is all thanks to senior brother Gu. On the Jie sect's side, there was jubilation. But on the opposite side, Lu Ya's expression turned grim. Zhao Gongmi had actually broken through to the quasi-saint level. One must understand that a quasi-saint is the strongest being in the world, just below a saint. How difficult it is to achieve the rank of quasi-saint. Even during the height of the Jie sect, with countless followers, there were only a few quasi-saints. Yet now, not long after Zhao Gongmi's resurrection, Gu Changsheng had helped him break through to quasi-saint. Meanwhile, in the Chen and Ren sects, Guangchenzi was injured, and Zuandu was dead. None of this boded well. All signs pointed to the Jie sect's fall, fortune continuously rising. To oppose the Jie sect now was unwise. It seemed that this time, he had truly boarded the wrong ship with Yuanxi. However, Lu Yao was no coward. He was still the crown prince of the Golden Crow and a quasi-saint master. Retreating was not an option. At War Rst, after dealing with Zhao Gongmi, Jiang Ziya, and Big Xiao, he could find a place to hide and meditate. No matter how powerful Gu Changsheng was, what could he do if he couldn't find him? With this thought, Lu Yao decided not to waste any more time. His gaze fell on Zhao Gongmi as he coldly said, If I could kill you once, I can kill you again. If you're courting death, then all three of you can come at once. Of course, Lu Yao didn't actually mean to let Zhao Gongmi and the others attack together. He was merely trying to provoke Zhao Gongmi into fighting him on 1-on-1. Taking down Zhao Gongmi first would make it easier to deal with Jiang Ziya and Big Xiao afterward. Zhao Gongmi, however, sneered. Lu Yao, save your cheap tricks. Because I alone am enough to deal with you. With that, Zhao Gongmi stepped forward, his body radiating with power, and wielded a divine whip that lashed out at Lu Yao. Seeing this, Lu Yao also stepped forward, his body enveloped in scorching golden crow flames as he met Zhao Gongmi head-on. The battle at Jiejiao had finally begun. As Zhao Gongmi and Lu Yao clashed, Jiang Ziya's face had signs of worry. Although Zhao Gongmi had broken through to the quasi-saint level, so had Lu Yao, and his accumulation in the quasi-saint realm far exceeded Zhao Gongmi's. She feared that her brother might not be a match for Lu Yao. She needed to find an opportunity to intervene. Noticing Jiang Ziya's concern, Big Xiao teased her. Elder sister, you don't need to worry. Brother will definitely win against Lu Yao. Are you that confident in brother's abilities? Jiang Ziya asked, puzzled. Big Xiao replied, Elder sister, you're mistaken. I'm not confident in brother's abilities, I'm confident in senior brother Gu. If brother didn't have some ace up his sleeve, why would senior brother Gu let him leave Jiejiao Island? Big Xiao's words reminded Jiang Ziya of something. Indeed, since senior brother Gu allowed brother to come, he must have his sons. It seems Lu Yu is in trouble now. On the other side, Taoist Master Huanglong expressed his concern. Why does it look like Lu Yu isn't gaining the upper hand? Though Lu Yu seemed to have some advantage, it was far from being decisive. This was troubling. But Jiang Ziya replied calmly. What's the rush? This is just a test. Once Lu Yu uses the immortal slaying flying knife, Zhao Gangming will surely be defeated. As he spoke, Zhao Gangming and Lu Yu collided in midair. The clash of their powers resounded like thunder, and both retreated several steps, as though Zhao Gangming's face paled significantly. As a newly ascended quasi-saint, his strength was far inferior to Lu Yu's. Lu Yu, seeing this, sneered. Just a newly ascended quasi-saint. It seems you have no other tricks left. This ends now. With that, Lu Yu waved his hand, and a red gourd appeared before him. In the next moment, the gourd glowed, and a figure with a human face and wings on its back appeared in front of Lu Yu. It was the immortal slaying flying knife. Lu Yu had used this knife to kill countless opponents in the past. As the immortal slaying flying knife appeared, Jiang Ziya's heart leapt into her throat. Her energy surged, ready to strike at any moment. Lu Yu then formed seals with his hands, preparing to activate the knife. Please, my treasure, turn around my ass. Before Lu Yu could finish his incantation, Zhao Gangming roared and lunged forward. Chapter 83, A Hasty Retreat. This wasn't the first time Zhao Gangming had faced Lu Yu in battle. He was already well acquainted with Lu Yu's tactics, especially the immortal slaying flying knife and the nail-head 7 arrows book. Having clashed so many times before, Zhao Gangming wouldn't let Lu Yu successfully activate the immortal slaying flying knife this time. Thus, Zhao Gangming immediately moved to interrupt him. Seeing Zhao Gangming suddenly strike, Lu Yu was forced to halt the activation of the immortal slaying flying knife. With a wave of his right hand, a powerful surge of energy erupted from him as he shouted coldly, "Despicable!" With a loud bang, the two forces collided in mid-air, sending shockwaves across the surroundings. Zhao Gangming took several steps back and retorted disdainfully, "Despicable? You call this despicable? How does this compare to your nail-head 7 arrows book, which attacks from the shadows?" These words struck a nerve with Lu Yu. He opened his mouth to retort but found himself speechless. After all, the nail-head 7 arrows book was indeed an underhanded weapon. After a moment, Lu Yu frowned deeply, his voice filled with rage. "Do you think you can defeat me without the immortal slaying flying knife, or the nail-head 7 arrows book? Let me show you the true difference between us." So what if Zhao Gangming had broken through to the quasi-saint level? As a newly ascended quasi-saint, how could Zhao Gangming possibly be a match for him? As his angry shout echoed, golden flames seemed to ignite in Lu Yu's eyes, and behind him, the shadow of a golden crow materialized. At this moment, Lu Yu's already formidable power surged even higher. His power, which already surpassed Zhao Gangming's, now towered over him by several times. But Zhao Gangming remained fearless, sneering as he replied, "You think you can overpower me with sheer force? Do you really believe I'm just an ordinary newly ascended quasi-saint?" With that, Zhao Gangming unleashed his full power. Though still weaker than Lu Yu's, it far exceeded what one would expect from a newly ascended quasi-saint. Seeing this, a flash of surprise crossed Lu Yu's eyes. How is this possible? When you entered the investiture of the gods, you were only at the Daluo Golden Immortal level. Even if you've broken through to quasi-saint, how could you reach this level so quickly? Before he could finish speaking, Zhao Gangming charged forward, launching a powerful magical attack at Lu Yu. Senior brother Gu's methods are beyond your imagination. If Zhao Gangming had broken through on his own, he would indeed be at the level of a typical newly ascended quasi-saint. But this time, it was thanks to Gu Changsheng's help that he made the breakthrough. With the combined influence of the Chaos Pearl and Gu Changsheng, Jiang's foundation was far beyond that of a regular quasi-saint. As Zhao Gongming attacked again, Lu Ye's expression darkened as he met the assault head-on. The battle between them intensified once more. Those watching from below were filled with concern. Taoist Master Huang Lo and frowned. At this rate, it looks like Lu Yao won't be able to use the Immortals slaying flying knife. This isn't looking good, but Jiang Ziya responded coldly. What's there to panic about? Even without magical weapons, no matter how strong Zhao Gongming is, Lu Ye's power still overwhelms him. But then Huang Long added another thought. But what if Zhao Gongming uses a magical weapon? These words made Jiang Ziya's face darken considerably. He glared at Huang Long. If you can't speak properly, just say less. What magical weapon could Zhao Gongming possibly have? His weapons were all taken when he died. Despite his words, Jiang Ziya couldn't help but feel a bit worried. Lu Yao should be able to win, right? While Jiang Ziya was filled with concern, Yang Xiao was brimming with confidence. Big Xiao excitedly said, as long as brother uses the means given by senior brother Gu, Lu Yao will definitely lose. Hearing this, Yang Xiao also looked up at the sky, eager to see what message senior brother Gu had given her brother. In the sky above, the battle between Lu Yao and Zhao Gongming grew fiercer. But as time passed, Zhao Gongming's disadvantage in raw power became increasingly apparent. With a heavy strike, Lu Yao forced Zhao Gongming back dozens of steps, a trace of blood appearing at the corner of his mouth. Lu Yao sneered. So what if your cultivation surpasses that of a typical newly ascended quasi-saint? I could send you to the investiture of the gods once, and I can do it again. Zhao Gongming was no match for him. But at that moment, Zhao Gongming wiped the blood from his mouth and revealed a sly grin. Cultivation level doesn't always equate to strength. Why? Our immortal slaying flying knife requires time to activate, but my weapon does not. With that, Zhao Gongming waved his sleeve, and several streaks of silver light shot out, all aimed at Lu Yao. Lu Yao paused for a moment before recognizing Zhao Gongming's weapon. The 24-seed saw booming beads. But didn't the sea-combing beads fall into the hands of the burning lamp ancient Buddha when Zhao Gongming died? How had they returned to Zhao Gongming? But it didn't matter, he had experienced the power of the sea-combing beads before. Lu Yao sneered. Zhao Gongming, and do you think you can defeat me with just the sea-combing beads? As he spoke, Lu Yao gathered his energy to defend. But as soon as Lu Ye's power collided with the sea-combing beads, his expression changed drastically. The power unleashed by the sea-combing beads was far beyond what he remembered. With a scream, Lu Ye's defensive energy shattered, and all 24 beads struck him. Lu Yao spat blood, his face pale, his eyes filled with shock. Were these really the sea-combing beads? Could an ordinary innate spiritual treasure possess such power? At that moment, Zhao Gongming let out a mocking laugh. What's wrong? Did you really think you could withstand my sea-combing beads? The sea-combing beads, re-refined by senior brother Gu, were indeed powerful. If he had known they were this strong, he wouldn't have wasted so much time with Lu Yao. He would have used them from the start. With that, Zhao Gongming once again unleashed the sea-combing beads toward Lu Yao. Lu Ye's expression turned grave as he formed seals with his hands. The golden crow shadow behind him solidified, and a flaming golden crow charged at the sea-combing beads. But under the might of the sea-combing beads, the golden crow's light gradually dimmed until it finally shattered, dispersing into sparks that faded into the air. As the golden crow vanished, Zhao Gongming's expression darkened as well. Because Lu Ye's figure had already reached the horizon. Who would have thought that the dignified crown prince of the golden crow, Lu Yao, would choose to flee? Was he so desperate that he had thrown away all sense of dignity? In the sky above, Lu Ya's voice still echoed. Zhao Gongming, don't think you've won. I, Lu Yao, will surely avenge this. Chapter 84, The Southern Pole appears. Lu Yao escapes. Seeing that Lu Yao was about to flee, Jiang Ziya hurriedly shouted, Brother, don't let him escape. If it were anyone else, it wouldn't matter if they ran. But if Lu Yao escaped and later used the nail-head 7 arrows book to curse Zhao Gongming, and they couldn't find him, there would be nothing they could do to stop it. In fact, Jiang Ziya didn't even need to remind him. Zhao Gongming was more aware than anyone of the consequences of letting Lu Yao escape. He definitely didn't want to die under the nail-head 7 arrows be again. Zhao Gongming snorted coldly. You think you can run? With a wave of his right hand, the 24 sea calming beads pierced through the air, instantly appearing before Lu Yao. Zhao Gongming formed seals with his hands, and the 24 sea calming beads encircled Lu Yao, transforming into a cage that trapped him within. Seeing this, Lu Yao began to panic. He couldn't fall here. Golden flames blazed in his eyes as he raised his hand, unleashing two scorching streams of golden fire toward the sea calming beads. But the result made Lu Ya's heart sink to the bottom. Even his golden crow flames couldn't affect the sea calming beads. What was going on? How had Zhao Gongming's sea calming beads become so powerful? At this moment, Lu Yao regretted his decisions. Why had he agreed to Yuanshi's plan? Realizing he couldn't break rough Zhao Gongming's sea calming beads, Lu Yao quickly said, Zhao Gongming, let me go, and we'll call this matter settled. I won't interfere with the Chan sect again. But Zhao Gongming responded disdainfully, you think I'd believe you? Even if you truly don't meddle anymore, I still won't let you go. The grudge between us can't be resolved with just a few words. As he spoke, Zhao Gongming continued to activate the 24 sea calming beads. In an instant, the sea calming beads emitted a brilliant light, gradually suppressing the golden flames that surround Lu Yao. Lu Ya's face was filled with anxiety. Was he really going to fall here today? In desperation, Lu Ya's gaze shifted to Jiang Ziya and Taoist Master Huanglong, who were standing at the gates of Jiejiao, and he quickly shouted, How much longer are you two going to just stand there? Hearing this, Jiang Ziya was left speechless. What use was there in calling him at a time like this? If even Lu Yao couldn't defeat Zhao Gongming, how could he? Besides, he didn't dare move at all. He could already feel Jiang Ziya and Big Xiao's eyes on him. If Lu Yao lost, it wouldn't just be Jiejiao that was in danger, his own safety would be at risk too. Jiang Ziya was already prepared with his escape talisman and the heaven-celebrating cloud. Gritting his teeth, Jiang Ziya said to Lu Yao, if you have any more tricks, use them now. If you keep holding back, you won't have a chance to use them. Lu Yao nearly spat blood at Jiang Ziya's words. What tricks did he have left? The Immortals slaying flying knife couldn't be activated, and the nail-head 7 arrows book required time. He was truly out of options. What was he going to do? Could the mighty son of the Golden Crow really perish here? Grinding his teeth, Lu Yao thought about using the flame given to him by Yuanshi. If he unleashed that pure young flame, it might be able to break through the defense of the sea calming beads. But if he did that, what as a point of getting involved in the conflict between the Jie sect and the Chan sect in the first place? What should he do? Should he wait a bit longer? But Zhao Gongming wasn't going to give Lu Yao much time to think. With another shift of his hand, the light of the 24 seed calming beads intensified. A deadly sense of danger enveloped Lu Yao, and he bit his lip, realizing he had no choice. It was time to prioritize survival. But just as Lu Yao was about to activate the pure young flame, he suddenly looked into the distance. In the sky, a beam of white light shot toward them. Before anyone could react, the white light had already struck the sea calming beads. Immediately, the sea-combing bees, which Lu Yao had been unable to shake with all his strength, began to show signs of cracking under the white light. The next moment, a figure flew in from afar. Seeing this, Zhao Gongming's expression darkened as he coldly said, "I didn't expect you, Antarctic Immortal Wen, to show up at Jiejiao." The newcomer was none other than the Antarctic Immortal Wen, one of the few remaining experts in the Chen sect. The Antarctic Immortal Wen's feelings were complicated. Initially, Yuanxi had not wanted to send him. But to cover all contingencies, Yuanxi had still sent the Antarctic Immortal Wen, instructing him to remain hidden and observe the situation, intervening only if necessary. Given what had just happened, if the Antarctic Immortal Wen hadn't stepped in, Lu Ya's life would have been forfeit. No matter what, Lu Yao needed to be protected. The Antarctic Immortal Wen retrieved his 3 treasured jade ruai and looked at Zhao Gongming, saying calmly, "Zhao Gongming, I didn't expect you to become a quasi-saint." As he spoke, the Antarctic Immortal Wen shot a glare at Lu Yao and coldly said, "What are you waiting for? Get out of here." Although he would have liked to take down Zhao Gongming and his allies, with both Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya being quasi-saints, even if he and Lu Yao worked together, they might only manage to defeat Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya, but killing them would be nearly impossible. The safest course of action was for Lu Yao to leave first, then use the Nail-Head 7 Arrows book to curse Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya. As long as he process wasn't interrupted, once the time was up, Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya would surely die. Realizing this, Lu Yao quickly turned to leave. Zhao Gongming immediately tried to activate the sea-combing bees again, but the Antarctic Immortal Wen blocked his path. "If you want to see," hissed Lu Yao, "you have to get past me first." At that moment, a graceful figure rushed forward, and Jiang Ziya joined the battle. "Brother, let's attack together." No matter what, they needed to shake off the Antarctic Immortal Wen and pursue Lu Yao. The battle reignited. But his result left the Jie sect's side somewhat displeased. The Antarctic Immortal Wen was not weak and wielded the 3 treasured jade ruai. Although Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya were both quasi-saints, without the mixed element Golden Dipper, Jiang Ziya's strength was significantly reduced. Even with the two working together, they only gained a slight advantage. There was no way they could take down the Antarctic Immortal Wen. After several more exchanges, the Antarctic Immortal Wen retreated into Jiejiao and said calmly, "Zhao Gongming, you two can't defeat me. Just wait to be cursed by the Nail-Head 7 Arrows book." Hearing this, Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya both looked grim. With Lu Yao gone, there was no point in continuing to fight the Antarctic Immortal Wen. They needed to find a way to counter Lu Ya's Nail-Head 7 Arrows book. Back in he camp, Jiang Ziya immediately spoke up. "Brother, you and Big Xiao stay here to guard against a sudden attack from Jiang Ziya. I'll return to Jinao Island to seek help from senior brother Gu. If no one else could deal with the Nail-Head 7 Arrows book, senior brother Gu certainly could." Chapter 85, The Curse of Death. On a solitary mountain, millions of kilometers away from Jiejiao. Suddenly, a streak of golden light appeared on the horizon. In a flash, the golden light descended upon the mountain. It was Lu Yao fleeing in disgrace from Jiejiao. At this moment, Lu Yao was in a sorry state, his clothes torn and tattered, with blood still at the corner of his mouth. Lu Yao first looked back to confirm that no one was pursuing him. With a wave of his hand, he blasted open a cave in the mountainside, then entered and set up several layers of barriers with his magic. This way, unless a saint came personally, even if a quasi-saint passed by, they wouldn't discover that Lu Yao was hiding in this cave. Only after doing all this did Lu Yao sit down, a fierce glint flashing in his eyes as he gritted his teeth. Zhao Gongming. Lu Yao had never imagined that one day, he, the crown prince of the Golden Crow, would be forced to flee in such humiliation. And the one who drove him to this state was none other than Zhao Gongming, who had once been his defeated foe. Today, he had lost all faith. But soon, a murderous intent emerged on Lu Ye's face. Since it had come to this, he wouldn't hold back anymore. Lu Ye immediately took out the nail-head 7 arrows book. Now that he had successfully escaped from Jipaigan, Zhao Gongming's death was imminent. So what if Zhao Gongming had broken through to he quasi-saint level? So what if his calming beads had grown more powerful? In the end, none of it could withstand the curse of the nail-head 7 arrows book. With a wave of his hand, a small straw figure appeared before Lu Ye, along with arrows, 2 lamps, and other items necessary. Why for using the nail-head 7 arrows book? He quickly inscribed Zhao Gongming's name onto the straw figure, took the proper stance, and performed the ritual writing the talisman, sealing it, burning it, and offering 3 daily prayers. In just 21 days, Zhao Gongming would be dead. If he could kill Zhao Gongming once, he could kill him a second time. This was all Zhao Gongming's own doing. But just as Lu Ye completed the first prayer, he suddenly sensed someone approaching outside the cave. Lu Ye instantly became highly alert. What was going on? Had Zhao Gongming and the others caught up so quickly? It didn't make sense. He had been careful to ensure no one followed him. Besides, even if Zhao Gongming and the others were searching for him, they should be looking at his previous hiding place. As Lu Ye cautiously waited, a voice came from outside the cave. Lu Ye, stop hiding. It's me, Antarctic Immortal. When hearing this voice, Lu Ye breathed a sigh of relief and immediately activated his magic. Moments later, Antarctic Immortal Wen appeared before him. Lu Ye watched him warily and asked, "How did you find me?" Antarctic Immortal Wen glanced around, his eyes landing on the straw figure, then he smiled. "When you left earlier, I left a mark of my consciousness on you. I intended for you to use the nail-head 7 arrows book to curse Zhao Gongming, and it seems you've already started. Here." In this, Lu Ye's expression turned cold as he replied, "This is all Zhao Gongming's fault." Antarctic Immortal Wen continued, "You should stay here. I'll set up an illusion array outside to ensure no one finds you. After you've cursed Zhao Gongming to death, you must also curse Jiang Ziya, or she will surely seek revenge. Once Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya were dead, the vacancies on the investiture of the gods list would be filled. There's no need for you to remind me." Lu Ye didn't bother to hide his disdain. If Antarctic Immortal Wen had arrived just a bit earlier, he wouldn't have had to flee in disgrace. Seeing Lu Ye's attitude, Antarctic Immortal Wen didn't argue and simply turned to leave. He still needed to hurry back to Jipaigan. As long as he held Jipaigan for 42 days, once Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya were cursed to death, no one would be left to help Shen Gongbao attack the pass. Long after Antarctic Immortal Wen's departure, the solitary mountain was completely enveloped by his array. Unless a saint intervened, no one would ever know that Lu Ye was hiding here. On Jinao Island, inside his cave, Gu Changsheng was browsing through the system shop. There were no current tasks, and his heavily merit points had dwindled to just a few thousand, an embarrassingly small amount. His cultivation was also stuck at the 6th level of the Hanyun Daluo Golden Immortal stage. This was not a good situation. With Shen Gongbao's rebellion, the 4 saints and 3 sects would surely employ countless tricks, and the Jie sect still had too few capable members. The name Gu Changsheng had inscribed on the Hongmanjantan scroll was the Holy Mother of the Golden Spirit. If she could be successfully revived, it would add some strength to the Jie sect. But there were still many days left before the Holy Mother of the Golden Spirit's primordial spirit could be reclaimed. Gu Changsheng wasn't sure what might happen during this time. Moreover, what was the situation at Jipaigan? If Zhao Gongming was handling it, there shouldn't be any problems, right? Just as Gu Changsheng was hesitating about whether to check on the situation, a clear voice called from outside the cave. Jiang Ziya requests to see senior brother Gu enter. Gu Changsheng, slightly surprised, immediately allowed Jiang Ziya to enter. Since Jiang Ziya had come, it must mean that something had gone wrong at Jiejiao. As soon as Jiang Ziya entered, Gu Changsheng asked, "What happened at Jiejiao? Did Antarctic Immortal Wen intervene?" Hearing Gu Changsheng ask question, Jiang Ziya's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief as she looked at him. She hadn't said anything yet, and senior brother Gu already knew. In fact, it wasn't difficult to deduce. With Nuwa involved, the Western sects people wouldn't make a move. The human sect's Suandu was dead, so they had no quasi-saints to rely on. That left only Antarctic Immortal Wen from the Chen sect. After a brief moment of surprise, Jiang Ziya quickly explained, "Senior brother Gu, you truly have foresight. It was indeed Antarctic Immortal Wen who intervened, but it wasn't just him. Luyo was involved as well." With that, Jiang Ziya briefly recounted the events of the battle at Jiejiao. "I'm worried that now that Luyo has escaped, he'll use the nail-head 7 arrows book to curse my brother again. I had no choice but to seek your help, senior brother. Do I have any way to help us find Luyo?" Hearing this, a hint of surprise flashed in Gu Changsheng's eyes. He hadn't expected Zhao Gongming and Luyo to clash again at Jiejiao. For both Luyo and Antarctic Immortal Wen to show up at Jiejiao, Yuan she must have been getting desperate. Gu Changsheng smiled and said, "Even if I help you find Luyo's whereabouts, with Antarctic Immortal Wen around, it would be difficult to kill him." At these words, Jiang Ziya's face turned green. If they couldn't kill Luyo, they would have to face the threat of the nail-head 7A. Ross book, a troublesome situation. But then Gu Changsheng continued, "However, I have a way to help you counter the nail-head 7 arrows book." Chapter 86. It's time to depart. Originally, Jiang Ziya's face was filled with worry, but after hearing Gu Changsheng's words, her eyes immediately brightened with anticipation. As long as they could deal with the 7 arrows nail-head scroll, Luyo wouldn't be a threat anymore. Gu Changsheng chuckled softly. "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." With that, Gu Changsheng's figure vanished from where he stood, entering the chaos prose space. When Shen Gongbao was exonerated, Gu Changsheng had already anticipated that the 4 saints of the 3 religions would summon wandering cultivators like Kong Shuang and Lu Yo, and Gu Changsheng had already devised a strategy to deal with them. Kong Shuang would be handled by Nuwa, and as for Lu Yes, 7 arrows nail-head scroll, Gu Changsheng had also made preparations. This method came from his system's shop. Gu Changsheng summoned the system's shop panel and began searching for the artifact he needed. It didn't take long for him to find his target. Special artifact, the Emmy Spiritual Wood, requires 7 celestial fate points. Upon seeing this artifact, Gu Changsheng couldn't help but feel a pinch in his heart. If it were before he returned to the Hongyuan, this mere 7 celestial fate points would be nothing, a matter of slaying a few outer realm demon gods. But after redeeming the Hongman Junta scroll, he was now quite poor. If he aimed the Suemi spiritual wood, his celestial fate points would be almost depleted. However, given the current situation, without his direct intervention, this Suemi spiritual wood was the only way to counter Lu Yes 7 arrows nail-head scroll. After a brief struggle, Gu Changsheng made up his mind. He redeemed the Suemi spiritual wood. He consoled himself that celestial fate points could be earned through future missions, and at worst, he could go kill a few outer realm demon gods again. The function of this Suemi spiritual wood was simple and similar to the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll. By dripping one's own blood into the Suemi spiritual wood, and inscribing another person's name on it, then offering daily worship for 10 days, the ritual would be complete. When a person who performed the ritual suffered a fatal injury, they could activate the Suemi spiritual wood to transfer the damage. In simpler terms, Zhao Gongming could use this Suemi spiritual wood to transfer the curse of the 7 arrows nail head scroll to someone else. Given the current situation, that person would naturally be non-Jiang Wen. This way, they could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, neutralizing the curse of the 7 arrows nail head scroll, while also eliminating non-Jiang Wen. If not for the fact that the Suemi spiritual wood could only be used once, it could be considered a 2p grade innate spiritual treasure. There was only one potential problem in this whole plan. If Lu Ye's target for the 7 arrows nail head scroll wasn't Zhao Gongming, then the Suemi spiritual would be ineffective. But given the current circumstances, it was certain that Lu Yao would target Zhao Gongming. So, this problem wasn't really a problem anymore. After redeeming the Suemi spiritual wood, Gu Changsheng left the Chaos Pearl and returned to the cave. He handed the Suemi spiritual wood to Jiang Ziya and explained how to use it. Jiang Ziya looked at the Suemi spiritual wood in her hands, her beautiful eyes filled with amazement. She hadn't expected senior brother Gu to have such a treasure. If non-Jiang Wen were to die, she could easily capture Jiejiao. Thank you, senior brother. I'll head back to Jiejiao now. With only Zhao Gongming and Big Xiao there, something might go wrong. Just as Jiang Ziya was about to leave, she suddenly remembered something, turned back, and hesitated before speaking to Gu Changsheng. Senior brother Gu, actually, I have another matter. Seeing Jiang Ziya's hesitant expression, Gu Changsheng subconsciously replied. If you have something to say, just say it. There's nothing in this Hongyan that I can't handle. Hearing this, Jiang Ziya no longer hesitated and directly spoke. It's not a big deal, really. During the battle at Jinjiling, my Hanyunji Golden Doe was taken by Kong Shuang. I wanted to ask senior brother Gu to help me retrieve the Hanyun Golden Doe. If I had it, even non-Jiang Wen wouldn't be a match for me. After Jiang Ziya finished speaking, she noticed that Gu Changsheng's expression had turned a bit sour, so she asked, is this difficult for you, senior brother Gu? Difficult? Of course, it was difficult. If it were any other matter, Gu Changsheng wouldn't have a problem with it. The problem was Kong Shuang. No, more precisely, the problem was Nuwa. Kong Shuang was currently cultivating in Nuwa's palace. If he went to see Kong Shuang, he would undoubtedly encounter Nuwa. And the last time, thinking about how Nuwa came to Jinao Island to find him, Gu Changsheng felt a shiver run down his spine. But since he had already spoken, he could only say, no problem. I'll help you get back the Hanyun Golden Doe. After all, he would have to deal with Nuwa sooner or later. He might as well see what she could do. She wouldn't dare eat him, would she? Seeing Gu Changsheng agree, Jiang Ziya's face lit up with joy. Thank you, senior brother Gu. I'll head back CK to Jiejiao now. With that, Jiang Ziya turned and left. After watching Jiang Ziya leave, Gu Changsheng wore a helpless expression. Going to Nuwa's palace, he had to come up with a plan. It would be best if he could retrieve the Hanyun Golden Doe from Kong Shuang without Nuwa noticing. Saints were not to be trifled with, and female saints were even more so. Fortunately, this matter wasn't urgent. He could wait a while before going. Time flew by, and 20 days passed. During these 20 days, Jiejiao remained relatively calm. There was no other way. Non-Jiang Wen was present, making it impossible for Jiang Ziya and Zhao Gongming to capture Jiejiao for the time being. As for non-Jiang Wen, he wouldn't make a move lightly. He only needed to wait for Lu Ye's 7 arrows nail head scroll to kill Zhao Gongming. Today was the last day for the 7 arrows nail head scroll. At dusk, once Lu Yao completed the final step, Zhao Gongming would meet his end. As night fell, a golden flame suddenly ignited at the edge of the darkness, rushing straight toward Shen Gongbo's camp. The visitor was none other than Lu Ye. Sensing Lu Ye's arrival, Jiang Ziya, Zhao Gongming, and Big Xiao all emerged from the camp. Upon seeing Lu Ye, Big Xiao immediately taunted. "Isn't this Lu Ye who fled in defeat a few days ago? What, did you finally come out of hiding after all this time?" Hearing Big Xiao's taunt, Lu Ye's eyes burned with anger. But he quickly calmed down and sneered. "You're all going to die, so why should I hide any longer?" As soon as he finished speaking, a figure flew out from Jiejiao. Nanji Zianwen had arrived as well. Lu Ye waved his right hand, and a straw doll appeared, as he prepared to complete the final step of the 7 arrows nail head scroll. As Lu Ye completed the last step, a flash of blood appeared on the straw doll, and Lu Ye coldly looked at Zhao Gongming, sneering. "Zhao Gongming, it's time for you to depart."
Chapter 87. Curse Transfer. The fall of Nanji. As soon as he spoke, Lu Ye felt a tinge of doubt rising in his heart. Although it took 21 days for the 7 arrows nail head scroll to completely curse and kill the target, it wasn't supposed to be an instantaneous death right at the 21st day. During the 21 days of the curse, there should have been some signs as the ritual progressed, indicating the target's deteriorating condition. By this time, even if Zhao Gongming wasn't dead, he should be pale and haggard, in a pitiful state. Yet, the Zhao Gongming standing across from him showed no signs of discomfort. His aura remained strong, without the slightest hint of weakening. What was going on? Despite the doubt swirling in his mind, Lu Ye reassured himself that once the final step of the 7 arrows nail head scroll was completed, Zhao Gongming would be cursed and killed within moments. At this point, the disciples of the Chan sect were already filled with joy. Nanji Zianwen's expression remained stoic, but the joy in his eyes was unmistakable. If Zhao Gongming could be slain, he would have a good ACC to give to Yuanshu. As for Jiang Ziya, his smile was now broad and unrestrained, nearly splitting his face. From Jiejiao to Jiepegwan, the time for his counterattack had finally arrived. Once Zhao Gongming fell, Jiang Ziya alone wouldn't stand a chance against the combined forces of Nanji Zianwen and Lu Ye. With Jiang Ziya dead, the list of gods would be complete, and his mission would be accomplished. Then, capturing Shen Gongbo would be a simple matter. He had tolerated Shen Gongbo for long enough. Did he really think that the Jie sect could turn the T? Oh, how laughable. In contrast, Zhao Gongming and his companions seemed remarkably calm. Zhao Gongming glanced at Lu Ye, his brows suddenly furrowing, a pained expression crossing his face as a tortured cry escaped his throat. You. Hearing Zhao Gongming's cries, Lu Ye's face twisted with malice. "Zhao Gongming, you brought this upon yourself. It's time for you to go." But just as he finished speaking, Lu Ye noticed that Zhao Gongming's pained expression had vanished. Zhao Gongming sneered. "I was just kidding. Did you really think I'd die for and the 7 arrows nail head scroll a second time?" As soon as these words left his mouth, the disciples of the Chan sect were all shocked. Lu Ye was even more bewildered, muttering to himself. "Impossible. How could you have avoided the curse of the 7 arrows nail head scroll? My curse is infallible." Even if Zhao Gongming had broken through to the next level, he was still only a quasi-saint, and a quasi-saint couldn't escape the 7 arrows nail head scroll. But from the moment he completed the final step of the curse until now, enough time had passed. Based on his previous experiences, Zhao Gongming should have been dead by now. Yet, Zhao Gongming stood there, unscathed. What was happening? Had the 7 arrows nail head scroll really failed? At this moment, Nanji Zianwen, standing nearby, frowned and asked, "Lu Ye, what's going on?" Only after Zhao Gongming was cursed and killed could they easily take down Jiang Ziya. If Zhao Gongming didn't die, Jiang Ziya wouldn't be so easily defeated. A sense of foreboding suddenly crept into Nanji Zianwen's heart. Hearing Nanji Zianwen's question, Lu Ye grew impatient and snapped. "Why are you asking me? Who am I supposed to ask? My 7 arrows nail head scroll has never failed." Just then, Big Xiao's eyes sparkled with mischief as she stepped forward, and said with a smile, "All right, Lu Ye, there's no need to keep up the act at his point. There's no reason to pretend anymore. Your task is complete, now it's up to us. Bixiu's sudden and seemingly nonsensical words left both Liu Ya and Nanji Xianwen confused. What did she mean? Jiang Ziya, however, quickly began to piece together what was happening. A quasi-saint couldn't possibly resist the 7 arrows nail-head scroll, yet Zhao Gongming was standing there completely unharmed. Coupled with Bixiu's words, a bold hypothesis began to form in Jiang Ziya's mind. Jiang Ziya's eyes narrowed, and he shouted, You've sided with the Jie sect. As soon as he spoke, Nanji Xianwen quickly retreated, putting distance between himself and Liu Ya. Liu Ya, however, was furious, glaring at Jiang Ziya as he raised his hand to unleash a powerful strike. Nonsense. But Liu Ya's angry reaction only confirmed Jiang Ziya's earlier accusation. Nanji Xianwen raised his hand to block Liu Ya's attack, his expression growing increasingly grim. If Liu Ya had truly switched sides to the Jie sect, it would be disastrous for the Chan sect. Liu Ya gritted his teeth and retorted, Nanji Xianwen, you can't seriously be doubting me just because of what Bixiu said. If that were the case, Liu Ya would be gravely wronged. But Nanji Xianwen countered, if that's not the case, then explain why this 7 arrows nail-head scroll didn't kill Zhao Gongming. This, how Aldi I know. Liu Ya was just as frustrated as Nanji Xianwen. He wanted answers even more than Nanji did. At that moment, Bixiu giggled and said, isn't it simple? Liu Ya didn't curse my brother at all. He cursed you, Nanji Xianwen. As soon as the words left her mouth, a chilling dread seized Nanji Xianwen's heart. If that were true, he was as good as dead. Veins bulged on Liu Ya's forehead as he roared in anger. Utter nonsense. If I had really cursed you, Nanji Xianwen, how could you still be standing here? The accusation of defecting to Jie sect was no small matter. As soon as Liu Ya's voice rang out, Zhao Gongming knew it was his time to act, a cold smile curling his lips. A flash of light appeared in his right hand, as he summoned the Zhuangming spiritual wood. But now, the Zhuangming spiritual wood was different from before, bearing a sinister blood-red mark. This was the curse effect of Liu Ya's 7 arrows nail-head scroll. And the name inscribed on the Zhuangming spiritual wood was none other than Nanji Xianwen. With just one final step, channeling his power, the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll would be transferred to Nanji Xianwen. In the next moment, Zhao Gongming channeled his power into the Zhuangming spiritual wood. As the energy poured in, a blinding flash of blood-red light erupted from the Zhuangming spiritual wood. The wood began to burn rapidly, disintegrating before their eyes. As the Zhuangming spiritual wood burned away, Nanji Xianwen, who had been fine moments ago, suddenly let out a harrowing scream, as blood streamed from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. His power dissipated in an instant. His body plummeted from the sky, crashing heavily to the ground. Jiang Ziya hurried forward to check, his expression darkening. Nanji Xianwen was dead. A streak of golden light shot out from his corpse. Following Xuandu, another member of the Chan sect, Nanji Xianwen, had fallen, his soul destined for the investiture of the gods. Chapter 88, Who Can Save You Now? As Nanji Xianwen's soul ascended to the investiture of the gods, a sudden silence fell over the battlefield outside Jiejiao. Jiang Ziya stood there, his face blank, his eyes vacant, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Who could tell him what exactly had transpired? Wasn't Liu Ya supposed to curse and kill Zhao Gongming, then join forces with Nanji Xianwen to capture Yangxiao and the others? How had it ended with Nanji Xianwen's death instead? Jiang Ziya simply couldn't accept what he was seeing. After a brief moment of shock, Jiang Ziya's gaze snapped towards Liu Ya, his eyes bloodshot with rage, and he spoke through gritted teeth. Liu Ya, how dare you? How dare you defect to the Jie sect? I will report this to my master without fail. All of this was Liu Ya's doing. Jiang Ziya's accusations left Liu Ya utterly bewildered. When had he ever defected to the Jie sect? Was Jiang Ziya blind? Though he didn't know what treasure Zhao Gongming had just used, it was clear that the death of Nanji Xianwen and the effects of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll were linked to it. While Liu Ya wasn't afraid of the Chan sect being wrongfully blamed by Yuanshu, for this would be terribly unjust. Glaring at Jiang Ziya, Liu Ya replied coldly, Jiang Ziya, you'd better use your brain before you speak. If you continue to slander me, I'll kill you first. Such accusations couldn't be made lightly. However, Jiang Ziya, now fearless, responded with a sneer. What a joke! Nanji Xianwen is already dead, and you still dare to deny it. Originally, with Liu Ya and Nanji Xianwen against Zhao Gongming and Yangxiao, Jiang Ziya had no fear. But now that Nanji Xianwen was dead and Liu Ya had supposedly sided with the Jie sect, his chances of escape seemed slim. Since he couldn't run, he might as well fight to the end. Jiang Ziya was gambling now. Gambling that his master was watching over the situation at Jiejiao. If so, his master would surely intervene at a critical moment. Liu Ya was trembling with rage at Jiang Ziya's words. In the past, if Jiang Ziya had spoken to him like this, he would have killed him without hesitation. But now, if he did kill Jiang Ziya, it would only confirm the accusation that he had defected to the Jie sect. Letting Jiang Ziya spout nonsense wasn't an option, but stopping him seemed impossible too. Liu Ya was on the verge of being driven mad. On the other side, Zhao Gongming and his companions could hardly contain their joy, especially Bixiao, whose eyes sparkled with delight. In truth, the Jie sect hadn't planned this outcome. They had merely intended to transfer the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll to kill Nanji Xianwen. It was Bixiao's spontaneous idea to accuse Liu Ya of defecting. Watching the Chan sect and Liu Ya turn against each other would be quite entertaining. Bixiao laughed. All right, Liu Ya, your mission is complete. I'll make sure to commend you to my master when I return. This one remark ignited Liu Ya's fury completely. Glaring at Bixiao, Liu Ya growled coldly. Nonsense, I'll kill you first. With that, he summoned his flying blade of immortality. But before he could activate it, Zhao Gongming had already leaped in front of Bixiao, his aura surging as he glared at Liu Ya with a cold sneer. Liu Ya, I'm your opponent. This time, let's see where you can run. This time, Liu Ya must not escape. The Zhuangming spiritual would have already been used up. There would be no way to counter the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll again. This was the perfect opportunity to avenge himself. Seeing Zhao Gongming come at him, Liu Ya's temper fled. Do you really think you've got me cornered? Even without the flying blade of immortality, if pushed to the limit, Zhao Gongming wouldn't get away unscathed. Golden flames flickered in Liu Ya's eyes as he unleashed his power, clashing fiercely with Zhao Gongming. High in the sky, the battle between these two quasi-saints erupted once more. Though Zhao Gongming had previously bested Liu Ya with the power of the sea calming beads, capturing Liu Ya now was no easy feat. Their battle was not something that could be resolved quickly. As Liu Ya and Zhao Gongming clashed again, Jiang Ziya began to retreat, step by step. Although he didn't fully understand what had happened with Liu Ya, with Nanji Xianwen dead, Jiejiao was certainly lost. He needed to find a way to escape. Jiang Ziya couldn't afford to die at Jiejiao. His plan was good, but a pair of eyes had already locked onto him. Just as Jiang Ziya was about to leave, a graceful figure blocked his path. With a smile, Bixiao said, Jiang Ziya, aren't you tired of running from Jiejiao to Jiejiao? Although Bixiao wasn't a quasi-saint, she was more than capable of stopping Jiang Ziya at this moment. Jiang Ziya had no choice but to turn and try to escape in another direction. But standing in his way was Yangxiao, her expression cold and unyielding. Seeing this, Jiang Ziya was filled with despair and couldn't help but speak. I never thought Jiang Ziya, would warrant Yangxiao's personal attention. He simply couldn't understand why Yangxiao, a quasi-saint, wouldn't go help Zhao Gongming deal with Liu Ya but would, instead, come after him. Yangxiao responded calmly. You don't need to worry about that. Jiang Ziya, you are a notable figure in the Chan sect. There is only one slot left on the investiture of the gods, and it will be filled by you. Originally, Yangxiao had planned to assist her brother in taking down Liu Ya first. But Zhao Gongming had refused, insisting on avenging himself personally. So, Yangxiao had no choice but to deal with Jiang Ziya. The next moment, Yangxiao raised her hand to strike at Jiang Ziya. Facing Yangxiao's attack, Jiang Ziya could do nothing but summon his all-heavens auspicious cloud to defend himself. Under the protection of the all-heavens auspicious cloud, Yangxiao's attacks were all blocked. Jiang Ziya hurriedly shouted, Huanglong, you. Before he could finish, his eyes widened in shock. There was no trace of immortal Huanglong behind him. That immortal Huanglong, back at Jiejiao, he had fled even faster than Jiang Ziya, and no, he had done the same again. Jiang Ziya was truly speechless. Why hadn't Jiang gone after immortal Huanglong, and instead come after him? In fact, it was quite simple. Although Jiang Ziya wasn't one of the 12 golden immortals of Yuking, his importance in the investiture of The gods far exceeded that of immortal Huanglong. Between killing Jiang Ziya and immortal Huanglong, Jiang and Bixiao knew which was more important. It seems no one can save you today. Let's see how long your all heaven's auspicious cloud can protect you. Jiang raised her jade-like hand, determined to slay Jiang Ziya today. Though the all heaven's auspicious cloud was a formidable defense, once Zhao Gongming was free, together they could break through it, with time and effort. But just as Jiang finished speaking, a sigh was heard. That's enough. Chapter 89. The Shameless Yuking. As the voice echoed through the air, an indescribable divine pressure enveloped the entire Jiejiao. Even someone as powerful as Jiang, a quasi-saint, felt powerless under this overwhelming force, her spiritual power completely suppressed. Zhao Go, Yiming and Lu Ya, who had been locked in combat, also halted immediately. Zhao Gongming's face darkened as he looked into the distance. There was only one kind of being capable of exerting such pressure on him, a saint. But who could it be? Yuan Shu, Laozi, or perhaps one of the were Western saints. As for Jiang, her expression remained calm, as if this situation was nothing out of the ordinary. She had seen too much of the shamelessness of the 4 saints of Yuan Shu. The next moment, a figure dressed in white appeared above Jiejiao. When Jiang Ziya saw who it was, his face immediately lit up with joy, and he shouted, "Master, Yu Ya has defected to the Jie sect, and used the 7 arrows nail-head scroll to curse and kill Nanji Xianwen." The newcomer was none other than Yuan Shu. At this moment, Yuan Shi's expression was dark and grim, as though he was on the verge of erupting. He didn't need Jiang Ziya to explain. Yuan Shu was already aware of Nanji Xianwen's death. From the moment he had summoned Lu Ya to support Jiejiao and sent Nanji Xianwen into the fray, Yuan Shu had been closely monitoring he battle at Jiejiao. This was because, back at Sishui Pass, Gu Changsheng had used some mysterious method to have Bixiao kill Xuandu. This time, to prevent a similar incident from occurring, Yuan Shu had been paying close attention to the events at Jiejiao. He had witnessed Nanji Xianwen's death with his own eyes. The problem was that even he couldn't figure out how Nanji Xianwen had died. Was it Gu Changsheng? But Yuan Shu hadn't sensed any trace of Gu Changsheng. The man hadn't even made a move. Moreover, Nanji Xianwen's death indeed appeared to be caused by the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll. Yuan Shu raised his head, his gaze falling on Lu Ya, his eyes filled with doubt. Had Lu Ya truly defected to the Jie sect? Although the possibility seemed slim, it was the only explanation for Nanji Xianwen's death. This was why Yuan Shu had spoken so reluctantly earlier. If not for Jiang Ziya's life being in danger, he wouldn't have revealed himself so quickly. Remaining hidden would have allowed him to learn more. For example, whether Zhao Gongming and Lu Ya would fight to the end, or whether Lu Ya had indeed switched sides. But now, he had no choice but to reveal himself and save Jiang Ziya. Sensing Yuan Shi's gaze, Lu Ya instinctively protested. "Don't listen to Jiang Ziya's nonsense. If I had defected to the Jie sect, why would I use the 7 arrows nail-head scroll to lines Nanji Xianwen? If I had joined forces with Zhao Gongming and Jiang, the 3 of us could have easily taken down Nanji Xianwen." But before Lu Ya could finish, Jiang Ziya spoke up. "Who knows? The fact remains that Nanji Xianwen died under the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll. You can't deny that." These words made Lu Ya's eyes fill with murderous intent, as he glared at Jiang Ziya. If Yuan Shu hadn't arrived, even if he didn't deal with Zhao Gongming and the others, he would have killed Jiang Ziya first. At this moment, Yuan Shu spoke calmly. "Proving whether or not you've defected to the Jie sect is simple. Defeat Zhao Gongming, Jiang, and the others, and prove it to me." Yu Ya was left speechless for a moment before replying helplessly. "That's easy for you to say. If I could have taken them down, wouldn't I have done so already? Without the flying blade of immortality or the 7 arrows nail-head scroll, even dealing with Zhao Gongming alone was difficult, let alone with Jiang involved." However, Yuan Shu was unmoved. "Just because you couldn't do it before doesn't mean you can't do it now. Go ahead and attack." As he finished speaking, an immense pressure descended upon Zhao Gongming and Jiang Ziya. Under this pressure, Zhao Gongming and the others' expressions immediately turned grim. Bixiao glared at Yuan Shu and shouted angrily, "Senior brother Gu has already won, and you, saints, must not interfere in battles. Yuan Shu, how dare you intervene?" Yuan Shi's eyes flashed with killing intent, but he quickly suppressed it. With a cold laugh, he replied, "When did I intervene? If I had truly intervened, you would already be a corpse for saying things." With that, Yuan Shu stepped back, moving to the other side of Jiejiao to observe the battle. This was Yuan Shi's little trick. He hadn't directly intervened, but had subtly exerted a saint's pressure on Jiang Ziya and the others. Though this divine pressure wasn't overwhelming, it was enough to give Liu Ya a significant advantage. Shameless Yuking saint. Truly despicable. Bixiao cursed aloud. Yuan Shu couldn't be bothered to argue with Bixiao at this moment. With Liu Ya attacking, it would only be a matter of time before Jiang Ziya and the others were slain. "Liu Ya, what are you waiting for? Attack!" Though Yuan Shi's tone annoyed Liu Ya, he had no choice but to act. Gathering his spiritual power, Liu Ya launched himself at Zhao Gongming. With Yuan Shi's divine pressure weighing on him, Zhao Gongming, whose power was already inferior to Liu Ya's, found himself at an even greater disadvantage. There was no other way. Facing Liu Ya's attack, Zhao Gongming had no choice but to summon the 24 sea calming beads. As silver light exploded forth, the sea calming beads managed to block Liu Ya's attack. But under his assault, Zhao Gongming was clearly more battered and bruised than before. Liu Ya sneered. "What happened to your earlier bravado?" Zhao Gongming gritted his teeth. If not for Yuan Shi's covert interference, the situation wouldn't have turned against him. At that moment, two seafull figures appeared beside Zhao Gongming. Jiang Ziya glared at Liu Ya and said sternly, "The battle's outcome is still undecided." As he spoke, Jiang Ziya gathered her spiritual power, and with a wave of her jade-like hand, sent a spell hurtling towards Liu Ya. At the same time, Zhao Gongming and Bixiao also launched their attacks. High in the sky, the three disciples of the Jie sect surrounded Liu Ya. Previously, Liu Ya had faced only Zhao Gongming or Jiang Ziya individually. Now, suddenly besieged by three opponents, he was immediately at a disadvantage. Zhao Gongming's cultivation far surpassed that of an ordinary early-stage quasi-saint, and Jiang Ziya's power was even greater, no weaker than Liu Ya's. If not for Yuan Shi's divine pressure, Liu Ya might have already lost. However, this was not the outcome Yuan Shi wanted to see. A cold glint flashed in Yuan Shi's eyes as he intensified the divine pressure on Jiang Ziya and Zhao Gongming. The sudden increase in pressure caused Zhao Gongming and the others' faces to darken. Under the immense pressure, Zhao Gongming and his companions found themselves frozen in place, unable to move. Naturally, Liu Ya wouldn't miss this perfect opportunity. Golden flames flickered in his eyes as he raised his hand, summoning a blazing golden arrow. The next moment, the arrow shot towards Zhao Gongming with deadly force. Zhao Gongming's pupils contracted as a sense of mortal danger surged within him. But just before the arrow could pierce Zhao Gongming's chest, it suddenly stopped. "Yuan Shu, do you have no shame left?" Chapter 90. "I'm not asking for your opinion." As the voice echoed, a beam of white light shot from afar, striking the golden flame arrow. Under Liu Ya's astonished gaze, the golden flame arrow gradually dissipated. Liu Ya could hardly believe what he was seeing. He even rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't imagining it. That golden flame arrow was formed from the essence of his golden crow flame. Even a peak quasi-saint would die if caught off guard. That attack was meant to kill Zhao Gongming. Yet, to his shock, someone had easily neutralized it. And he hadn't even seen who it was. Could it be a saint? But among the Jie sect saints, Tongtian had renounced his saintly status. Could it be Gu Changsheng who had arrived? Jiang Ziya and the others, upon hearing the voice, showed expressions of joy. In an instant, a tall figure appeared beside Jiang Ziya and her companions. As Gu Changsheng arrived, the oppressive saintly aura from Yuan Shi vanished. Before Gu Changsheng could speak, Bixiao pointed angrily at Yuan Shi and shouted, "Senior brother Gu, Yuan Shi is truly shameless." Seeing Bixiao pointing at him and cursing, Yuan Shi was furious. But with Gu Changsheng present, he didn't dare act rashly. He could only respond coldly. "Gu Changsheng, if you can't discipline the disciples of the Jie sect, I won't mind helping you do it." But Gu Changsheng merely smiled, and replied in a deep voice. Is that so? Bixiao, you were wrong. Does Yuan Shu even have any shame? Bixiao quickly nodded. Senior brother is right, I was wrong. This exchange nearly made Yuan Shu lose his composure. When he first heard Gu Changsheng's words, Yuan Shu thought Gu Changsheng was about to reprimand Bixiao. The smile on his face hadn't fully formed when he heard Gu Changsheng's next words. Yuan Shi's expression froze instantly. With a cold voice, Yuan Shu said, Gu Changsheng, don't go too far. Gu Changsheng responded with a cold laugh. Too far? If that's the Tsar, sir, let me show you what going too far looks like. With that, Gu Changsheng turned his gaze to Jiang Ziya. The moment Gu Changsheng's eyes fell on Jiang Ziya, a terrifying pressure erupted. Jiang Ziya let out a muffled groan, spat out a mouthful of blood, and the multicolored light that had protected him on the all-heavens auspicious cloud shattered under Gu Changsheng's pressure. The defensive light that had saved Jiang Ziya many times before now crumbled under Gu Changsheng's might. As the all-heavens auspicious cloud's defense shattered, Jiang Ziya was utterly terrified. If Yuan Shi's saintly aura had merely limited Zhao Gongming and the others' movements, and suppressed their power somewhat, then Gu Changsheng's pressure was intended to take Jiang Ziya's life. Fortunately, at the moment the all-heavens auspicious cloud shattered, Yuan Shi reacted swiftly, stepping forward to shield Jiang Ziya and block Gu Changsheng's pressure. In this battle at Jiejiao, Nanji Xianwang had already fallen. Jiang Ziya couldn't be allowed to suffer the same fate. After warding off Gu Changsheng's pressure, Yuan Shu shouted angrily, Gu Changsheng, how dare you attack a disciple of the Chan sect? I will report this to our master. But Gu Changsheng sneered dismissively. Oh, you call that an attack? Didn't you just do the same to the disciples of the Jie sect? Yuan Shu, I advise you to stop your tricks, or your disciple ES will only die faster. Although the all-heavens auspicious cloud's defense had surprised Gu Changsheng, preventing him from killing Jiang Ziya, the intimidation had already served its purpose. Yuan Shu wouldn't dare try anything like that again. Seeing Gu Changsheng dare to threaten him so openly, Yuan Shu was so enraged that he nearly ground his back teeth to dust. But after their previous encounters, Yuan Shu knew well that he was no match for Gu Changsheng. If the established rules were broken and both sides fought without restraint, the Chan sect would undoubtedly suffer more than the Jie sect. With no choice, Yuan Shu had to endure. Meanwhile, Lu Ya had been observing Yuan Shi's reaction from the side, and his eyes were filled with shock. He had heard many stories about Gu Changsheng, but hearing was one thing, seeing it firsthand was entirely different. Setting aside how Gu Changsheng had effortlessly erased his golden flame arrow, just looking at Yuan Shi's current behavior showed how much Yuan Shu feared Gu Changsheng. If it had been anyone else, Yuan Shu would have struck already. It seemed that in the future, he should avoid provoking the Jie sect. The Chan sect had Yuan Shu, who was a saint protected by Hoggen. But he was just a loner, not even a saint. If he truly angered Gu Changsheng, he wouldn't even know how he died. Better to avoid trouble than seek it. From now on, it would be best to stay out of the disputes between the Jie sect and the Chan sect. Seeing Yuan Shu remain silent, Gu Changsheng turned to Zhao Gongming and the others and said calmly, What are you waiting for? Capture Jiang Ziya and break through Jiejiao. These words nearly caused Jiang Ziya, had just regained his composure, to faint again. Jiang Ziya quickly looked to Yuan Shu, knowing that if his master didn't intervene, Lu Ya wouldn't be able to fend off Zhao Gongming and the others, and he would certainly die. Yuan Shu, of course, wouldn't let that happen. Stepping forward, Yuan Shu said solemnly, I won't attack the disciples of the Jie sect, but you can't stop me from taking the disciples of the Chan sect with me. With that, he moved to grab Jiang Ziya. Gu Changsheng shrugged, looking indifferent. In truth, Gu Changsheng wasn't too keen on killing Jiang Ziya at this moment. There was only one spot left on the investiture of the gods, and many souls of the Jie sect disciples had yet to be reclaimed. Moreover, once the investiture of the gods was completed, if Hoggen's power increased, he might target Gu Changsheng. At that time, his current cultivation at the 6th level of the Grand Da Luo Golden Immortal might not be enough. Therefore, the progress of the investiture of the gods needed to be controlled. Seeing this, Yuan Shu grabbed Jiang Ziya and the others, then turned to Lu Ya and said coldly, You coming back to Yuking Palace with me? No matter what, Nanji Xianweng's death couldn't go unaccounted for. Since he couldn't find evidence that Gu Changsheng had made a move, he had to get something from Lu Ye. But upon hearing this, Lu Ye's expression turned cold. He wasn't foolish, who knew what Yuan Shi might do to him in Yuking Palace. After all, Nanji Xianweng had died under the curse of the 7 arrows nail-head scroll. Lu Ye immediately refused. I think I'll pass. I have other matters to attend to. Yuan Shi's face darkened. Do you think I am asking for your opinion?